Hey, so today I'm going to talk about comparison between some of the comic book conventions coming up in Canada and comparison to some of the ones in the States that are going on now and coming up. Um, it's important to sort of see where nerd culture is going and where does real fandom go and what does it make to make a sustainable market. Um, and with the Canadian example, we've had some really poor conventions. I'm going over to Toronto next week, and like the big guest stars, they're doing a Degrassi reunion. It's a joke. Then they're coming to Ottawa 2 months later. It's just really poor to just keep bringing the same guests out. Um, and we see that a lot in Canada. It's the same repetition. It's the organizers who don't have the contacts. They're not as well established. Even with Toronto, it's a rushed show from it's Forma who owns it, and they also do Fan Expo. They do Dallas. They do a few others. I believe they just bought Orlando. Um, but they really didn't plan ahead for Toronto very well and didn't start doing announcements. Um, and that's why they have such a poor lineup. But we see Emerald City Con was just this weekend. They had my favorite cover artist, J. Scott Campbell, who I've mentioned a few times. They also had the reunion of the Image founders, which is huge. Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, the creator of Deadpool and Cable. Todd McFarlane's did a big run on Spider-Man and Spawn. Um, all sorts of other. Mark Silvestri did great work on X-Men Wolverine. But what we see in the States is development of sustainable conventions that bring high quality guests year after year that are different. And while being a geek is popular, in Canada we're seeing it more as a cash out sort of event where there's high attendance because there just aren't as many events around. It's really the only thing going on. And in the States, there is a lot more competition. There's a much older tradition of these large conventions, and it leads to much better guest lists, much more sustainable events. So once the geek thing goes back down, it always does. Um, I don't think we'll see as many conventions in Canada going because they just really haven't built up um, a sustainable fan base, like of attendees who genuinely care about going and who want to go every year and who always will just to support it. They've already lost a lot of hardcore people who go. A lot of people in the community that I used to know. They really only do Fan Expo at the end of the year in Toronto because that's the big one. Um, it's the third biggest in North America, so you get good guest lists there, and that's where the promotion, that's where the sponsorship is. Otherwise, you just don't see the sponsorship at even with Toronto, considering it's the same company, the same kind of sponsorship doesn't get put into that, and especially with like Montreal or Ottawa, there basically just isn't, and that's part of the problem of why they can't get good guests. But it it seems more like a cash out. Even in Niagara Falls, they hold an excellent Comic Con. Um, they always get good guests. People want to go to it. Um, it seems much more sustainable. So it actually, even on terms of raw numbers of what you can make at a show and attendance, it's doing as well in a smaller place like Niagara as compared to Ottawa, Montreal, which are much larger markets. And you figure they should be doing much better numbers, but it's just not there. And in the States, there is that competition between conventions um, and more sponsorship, more money. It's easier for these people who are already in the States to travel there instead of coming up north here. Um, so it's realistically, if you're a big fan, if you're a nerd, you got to just go down to the States to get real conventions. Otherwise, in Canada, it's very disappointing. Um, yeah, and it looks like it's not getting any better. So, thank you very much. Have a good one.